President Trump calls you a communist. You call yourself a democratic socialist. Some of your volunteers in your campaign say that the distinction doesn't really matter. Does it matter? Are there elements of communism in your platform?
The elements of my platform are all about affordability, and I am a democratic socialist. And when New Yorkers ask me what it means, I take them to the words of Dr. Martin Luther King, who said, call it democracy or call it democratic socialism. There must be a better distribution of wealth for all of God's children in this country.
And that was Zohran Mamdani, who is now facing even more competition. A bold new voice is jumping into the New York City mayoral race with a mission to bring down the socialist Democrat. Independent candidate Joseph Hernandez knows firsthand the cost of socialism. He was born in Cuba. He escaped the regime at just 7 years old. His family chased and then found the American dream right here in New York City. Now Hernandez says he's running to make sure no New Yorker ever has to endure the failed socialist policies that his family fled. Mayoral candidate Joseph Hernandez joins me right now. Joseph, great to have you. Thank you so much for being here. Before we get into how you can do this, tell us the cost of socialism and assess for us the backdrop that you and your family had to flee.
Wonderful. Thank you for having me, Maria. I really appreciate you giving me an opportunity to tell our story. So I came from socialism. I came from communist Cuba. I know what this thing looks like, and I know what it feels like. I came here at the age of 7. I was living there for the first 7 years of my life. My father became a political prisoner. He wasn't a fan of communism, and of course that doesn't work very well when you oppose the government. So he was thrown in prison, given a 7-year sentence after like a 2-minute trial. He developed encephalitis in prison, and after a 9-month coma, the communists thought it was a good idea to just get rid of him. So we ended up here in America. My dad, a disabled guy, washing dishes, and my mom cleaning homes, and 4 kids. And you know, my parents taught us a very good lesson. They said, look, you've now been adopted by this amazing country. You have a responsibility to work hard, to get educated, to change the world. And then at some point in your life, you're going to be asked to stand up for this country and do something wonderful, something meaningful to repay back to this society that gave us so much. And this is my time to stand up, and that's what I'm doing.
That is terrific. Look, let's not forget the fact that the New York community is largely liberal. I mean, you had a very small electorate come out and vote for Bill Delasio, for example, and they elected Bill Delasio in. So how are you going to get independents and conservatives or even Democrats to understand what you're talking about and come out and vote for you?
Well, truthfully, I view myself as an American centrist. My ideologies are very down the middle from a general perspective. I am pro-business, obviously, and I believe in capitalism. I think capitalism has done more for humanity than anything else. If you think about it, it's lifted about 1 billion people out of poverty. It has built this great country. It's built this great city. The reason Zohran is using an iPhone and the internet to extend his message out to people has been because of capitalism and because of innovation, because of this great country. So I truly believe in the American dream. I believe that in this society, if you work hard, you should be rewarded. And that benefits everybody. I mean, people who are entrepreneurs create jobs for others. And so I'm a true believer in the American dream and capitalism.
Mm-hmm. A new report reveals big technology workers, big tech, are pouring money into Zohran Mamdani's campaign. Look at these numbers, Joseph. New York City finance data shows that 260 employees of Google kicked in $40,000. 78 staffers at Meta gave $10,000, and 98 employees at Amazon gave nearly $9,000. You're in biotech. What do you make of this?
I actually find that astonishing, to be quite honest. I don't think people understand really the cost of socialism and communism. I think the damage that would occur to New York City is going to be massive. You're going to have a mass exodus of people that pay taxes here, and I don't know who's going to make up that difference. We have a $120 billion budget in the city, predominantly paid by high net worth individuals. If those individuals leave New York City is going to be in a lot of trouble. And I would encourage the people that are contributing, that are part of technology companies, to really understand the difference between socialism and capitalism. And capitalism has created the great companies that employ them. They should really look themselves in the mirror very hard before they fully commit to Zohran.
Yeah, and I mean, how does it work if he wants free grocery stores and free everything and frozen rent? I mean, where does the money come from?
Who's going to pay for this? I mean, our budget is already insane. We have a $120 billion budget, as I mentioned. I'm the only candidate, by the way, who said I'm not going to raise taxes. As a matter of fact, I looked at this budget and I found that there's about $15 billion that we can cut out of this budget effectively, immediately. So there's a big disconnect between how we're going to provide all these free things and where the money's going to come from. We're already an overtaxed society. And look, the reality is freezing the rent is not going to do anything. It doesn't solve the housing crisis that truly exists here in New York City. I think he's correct. Living in New York City is an expensive endeavor. But the way to solve that is really by increasing the supply and housing. New York City has the lowest housing the lowest vacancy rate of anywhere in the country. It's at 1.4%. So that means that at any time, there's only 32,000 apartments available for rent. So if you're a kid coming here, if you're somebody coming to work on Broadway, or if you're a mom moving here with your kids, you're competing against effectively 8.5 million people for those 32,000 units, and it's insanity. We got to increase the supply.
The criticism is that you and the others running away from Mamdani are very similar. So you've got Andrew Cuomo, Eric Adams. I mean, Andrew Cuomo is running as an independent. Eric Adams is running as an independent. Andrew Cuomo as well. And then you've got Curtis Sliwa as a Republican. You're running as an independent. If you all run, don't you take votes from one another, and doesn't Mamdani win?
Well, listen, I think, first of all, I am very different than the crowd. I'm not a career politician. I'm an operator. All I've done my whole career is build companies, bring them public. I'm an operator. I know how to balance budgets. I know how to hire people. I know how to fire people. I know how to get rid of waste. I am a big believer in technology. I am an expert in AI. We just actually brought a company public focused on AI about 4 weeks ago. I think AI is just transformative technology that needs to be deployed here in New York, and I plan to do that. So I don't consider myself like the other candidates. I would say I'm a very different person, and I'm doing it for the right reasons. I'm not owned by anybody. I don't have any union endorsement. I don't expect any. I am here because I love this city. I love this country, and I think the right thing to do is to make sure socialism doesn't grab a hold of New York City, and that we run an efficient government that provides good services to the people at the lowest possible cost. And I'm the best person to do that. The other thing that's relevant here is I filed a suit against the city. The city applied ranked choice voting in the primary, but refuses to do that in the general election. We think that's unconstitutional. If we bring back ranked choice voting in the general election, this issue of splitting the vote goes away, and it's a non-issue. So we're going to fight hard against the city and against the individuals that run the elections here to make sure that that happens in the general election.
All right, Joseph, we'll be watching your work. Thanks very much for being here.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it, and I wish you guys the best of luck.
And to you, Joseph Hernandez.